Joining me now to discuss this is the host of My View with Lara Trump. It is Lara Trump, and she was at the memorial yesterday. Great to see you. Thanks for being with us. Had to have been an incredible day in person. It was an incredible day for everyone across America.
Yeah, I mean, so special to be there. Something that those of us who got to attend, well, I don't think we'll ever forget. It was almost surreal. I mean, I still can't believe that we had that moment, because I still can't believe that Charlie is no longer here with us. And, you know, to lead into this segment, any of those women who were spewing those lies about Charlie, I would dare one of them to attempt to prove their point to Charlie Kirk. He would absolutely shut all of them down, because they have absolutely nothing to stand on. But you're right to point out the juxtaposition between the way that two different sides of the aisle seem to behave in the face of tragedy. We have seen record attendance at churches. We've seen vigils and prayer, not just here in America, Will, around the world. You saw this in New Zealand and South Korea and the UK. What has happened on the other side of this horrific murder has actually been really incredible to witness, and it just shows you the difference between the two sides of the aisle. I hope everyone paid attention yesterday when Erica Kirk did what I think most of us in America were stunned to hear, when she forgave the man who took her husband's life. Let the Democrats take a page out of that playbook. Let them see the way that Jesus, the way that faithfulness, the way that God can come into someone's life and make things better. They all could use a dose of going to church, that is for sure. But it was an honor to be there yesterday. I thought it was a beautiful memorial, and it shows the impact that Charlie had. I don't even think we are well aware of yet, Will.
I want to believe, Laura, that spoke volumes to America. I think there's nothing I can say today that's more powerful from them to compare those two moments, how you handle those tragedies, and as you said, for that juxtaposition between the left and the right. Kamala Harris has a new book, Laura, and she has talked about a lot of things. Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, and there is the governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, now responding to that book, where he says that he spoke to President Biden directly about his concerns about the way the campaign was failing in Pennsylvania. Watch.
I made a point to speak to the people around the president repeatedly about what I saw were worrying signs here in Pennsylvania. And when I felt that they were not sharing that information directly with the president, I went directly to the president, to the former president, and shared that with him when we met at a coffee shop in Harrisburg. I was very direct and very blunt about what I saw were worrying signs electorally about his prospects to be able to win again.
So there's that, and there's also excerpts from her book where she's almost sounding like a rational, or how about this? We'll set the bar lower. A sane person when it comes to trans sports. Like, that she understands the concerns of players and parents. So what do we make of everything coming out from Kamala Harris?
Well, I'll save everybody the 320 pages of reading her book, 107 Days, and tell you I can sum it all up. And the reason that Kamala Harris didn't win in one sentence: Kamala Harris is not president right now because she was a bad candidate with a bad message, who chose a bad running mate, didn't connect with the American people, and she was completely inauthentic. That's why she's not president right now. It seems like she's doesn't even have enough fingers on both hands to point the blame at everyone she's trying to blame for not being president right now, Will. We all know that. We all saw it with our own eyes. But it is interesting to hear Josh Shapiro's take in all of this, because it seemed like that the Democrats were willing to shove Joe Biden through at all costs, knowing how badly he was performing with the American people, and try, of course, to shield us from what we saw with our own eyes for as long as they possibly could, of course, until the famous debate, until they usurped democracy completely and just plugged Kamala Harris in. I don't know who's buying this book. I don't really know what we're going to get out of this book. It seems like she's trying to play cleanup and maybe try to set a path for herself in the future. There's another book out right now. It's called Under Siege. My husband has written it, and it'll tell you all you need to know about the past 10 years of all of our lives in the Trump family. I'd recommend that read instead.
Yeah, I've spoken to Eric on Will Cain Country, and I would agree. You can check out Under Siege. And I would only amend your answer with something I know you don't disagree with. As weak as Kamala Harris was, they didn't have a candidate that was going to perform better. The reason that she lost is because she went up against the Chicago Bulls of politics and Donald Trump. It didn't matter if you ran out the Utah Jazz or the Seattle Supersonics. They were going to lose to the Chicago Bulls, Donald Trump. All right, thank you. Great to see you, Lara.
Thank you.
Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.